Enjoy. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Jeremy the Machine Scott.
So excited today because we're
gonna make Excuse you. Really? You're gonna do this again? Anyways, anabolic, low sugar cheesecake, and we're using a lot of very good very healthy ingredients in this, so you can enjoy your cheesecake around the holidays and it's guilt-free. You don't have to worry about putting on those extra pounds and putting on that excess body fat. So let's get into it. Erythritol. Okay, this is a plant-based sweetener. It's similar to stevia, okay? Don't worry, the plant-based sweetener is not gonna kill you. It's not gonna give you cancer, okay? All these studies that have been shown, okay, there's not enough studies to prove that this stuff is going to kill you. So don't worry, you're not gonna die by eating this sugar-free cheesecake with erythritol plant-based sweetener. Don't worry about all that, okay? It's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. The only thing that's gonna happen by eating this plant-based sweetener is that you're gonna stay shredded and you're gonna be able to have a six-pack, don't worry. And then we've got ready crust, graham cracker crust. So you can either make your own crust with sugar-free cookies. You can crush them up and mix them up with a little bit of butter and make your own crust, or you can use this pre-made crust that I'm using. So we've got 1/8 piece of crust, which is 100 calories, 5 grams of fat, 14 grams of carbs, 6 grams of sugar. So it's still pretty low in sugar. So that's actually gonna add a little bit of sugar to the recipe. But if you make your own crust with sugar-free cookies, you have completely 100% sugar-free cheesecake. Organic coconut flour. The recipe calls for regular flour, but once again, we're gonna take the amount that is being asked and used in the recipe, and we're gonna do half of all-purpose flour and half of coconut flour, okay? And we've got 1/3 less fat of Philadelphia cream cheese. So we've got 8 servings per container, 70 calories, and less than 1 carb per serving. So that's good, it's keeping us nice and low on carbs. So the recipe calls for 8 ounces of low-fat cream cheese. So we're gonna put this whole tube into the blender. We got sea salt. You can use regular salt or you can use sea salt. And then we've got 2 eggs. It says room temperature eggs, but it doesn't have to be room temperature. I've used regular cold eggs right out of the fridge. The recipe came out just fine. Plain, non-fat Greek yogurt, okay? Once again, 0% fat. So we've got 90 calories per serving, 0 fat, and 5 carbs, and 5 grams of sugar. So I guess it's technically not sugar-free, it's just a few grams. And we spread that out into 9 servings of the sugar-free cheesecake. That's barely any sugar, so I still consider it barely, it's pretty much sugar-free. It's not a big deal. You're gonna burn it off. That's why you gotta do your cardio. Because if you don't do your cardio, that sugar's gonna convert to excess body fat. So this is what we call Jeremy Scott's kind of sugar-free cheesecake, but we'll call it a low-calorie cheesecake more so, okay? And then we've got vanilla extract. Make sure you put this stuff in there because it's gonna make it just taste wonderful. It's gonna bring out all the flavor in the cheesecake. The very first step, before we start putting all our ingredients into the blender, the first thing that you wanna do is make sure you get the oven preheating at 325. So that way when you get all the ingredients mixed together in the blender, you just pop it in the oven and you're ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and start with the first ingredient, which is plain non-fat Greek yogurt. The recipe calls for 2 cups. Put this into the blender. Let's go ahead and get that dumped right in. Step number 2, we're gonna throw in our 2 large eggs. And step 3, we've got 2/3 cup of granulated sweetener or erythritol, stevia, Splenda, whatever you want to add. It really doesn't matter. And there's 1/3 cup. And 2/3 cup. Step 3, we've got coconut flour and regular all-purpose flour. So what I like to do is just take the 1/4 cup and fill that up about halfway, and then take the coconut flour and just stack that right on top, just like so. Next step, 1 teaspoon of sea salt. So we're gonna dump that in, sprinkle that on top, and shake that up. Smells amazing. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. There we go. So that is Watkins. This is the best brand. It's called Watkins, okay? It's non-GMO. This is nothing but the best. And the reason why you want to get Watkins is because, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just grab any random one. It doesn't matter which brand. And then last, 8 ounces of 1/3 fat cream cheese. Squeeze that on top. You should get all of it out. So here we are, we've got all of our ingredients. Once again, 8 ounces of 1/3 less fat cream cheese. We've got 2/3 cup of Splenda, stevia, erythritol, any type of plant-based sweetener. And then we've got vanilla extract. We've got sea salt. We've got 16 ounces of plain non-fat Greek yogurt. Coconut flour, all-purpose regular flour. Next step, we're gonna put this in the blender. Make sure you get it all blended up. All right, so if you just heard that beeping sound, that is the oven. We put it on preheat at 325, so it's now ready. The last and final step, we're gonna take this pie crust into the pie crust. So it should be just about the right amount. Make sure these ends right here are flipped up so it can catch any excess cheesecake batter as we pour it in. Pour it in nice and slow, just in case you didn't measure it out correctly, just so it doesn't spill over, so you don't have any accidents. We've got our complete mixture inside of the pie crust. And now, next step, we're going to go ahead and throw it in the oven. So it's your choice, it's up to you. Depending on how you like your cheesecake cooked, I like mine a little bit more firm. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave mine in for about, and I have a convection oven, so it's got the little fan in it, kind of blows the air around so it cooks it a little bit more evenly. And actually the side that's farthest away from me actually tends to get cooked a little bit more. So midway through, I'm actually gonna take my cheesecake and I'm gonna turn it around. So you can cook it anywhere from about 45 minutes up until maybe close towards an hour. Just keep an eye on it and check on the cheesecake. So as soon as the middle of the cheesecake starts to set, meaning the middle of the cheesecake is no longer liquid, that's when your cheesecake will be done. So right around the 45 minute mark, go ahead and keep an eye on it. You'll see the top will start to get a little bit brown and crispy, and make sure the middle is nice and firm, and that's when your cheesecake is done. When your cheesecake is done, leave it out on the counter, open up the window, let it cool off. Once it cools off for about 4 hours, 3 hours, whenever you touch it and it doesn't feel too hot anymore, then go ahead and put it in the fridge. If some like a more frozen, harder cheesecake, you can go ahead and put it in the freezer. So I'm gonna let mine cool off as soon as it's done, and I'm gonna stick it in the fridge. And if you want to make it a little bit more tasty, if you want a little bit more of a treat, you can sprinkle a little bit of pieces of Heath on top. And once again, that's not gonna add to the sugar content too much. That's why I said, don't be lazy and do your cardio. If you're not lazy and you're doing your cardio, then you can afford to take in a little bit of sugar. Just make sure you move more. If you move more, you can enjoy the good things in life, like low calorie, very, very low sugar cheesecake like this.
We can do jiu-jitsu on a big mat.
So we got, this is the other alternative. It's vampire tacos, there's cheese and chicken. That's not what we should be eating. This is so you know what not to eat, okay?
Don't work out.
Yeah, this is her post-workout snack. If you don't want to reach your fitness goals, then this is how you need to eat. So anyways, this has been in the oven for about, I'd say about 45 minutes, close to an hour maybe. And then after I shut it off, I leave it in there, actually in the oven. I actually left it in there for another 2 hours after I shut the oven off. So it cooked at 325 for about 45 minutes. I set a timer, I shut the oven off and let the cheesecake actually sit inside of the oven. So this is our finished product. Check it out. The last finishing touch, we're gonna put some Heath on it. Just sprinkle just a tad bit over the top. So keep in mind that you want to put the Heath on top. Okay, take notes, write this down. You want to put the Heath on top after it's been cooked, because if you put it on before, the Heath doesn't stand up really good against heat. The Heath will actually melt inside of the oven. So you put it on after, and you can kind of just push it down into the cheesecake, and it will just sink in, and it just gives it a little bit more extra flavor. It's not a whole bunch of Heath, it's just a little bit. Remember, Heath is still 1 tablespoon, this is probably 2 tablespoons on there, on the cheesecake. 1 tablespoon has 80 calories, 5 grams of fat, 9 grams of carbs, and only 9 grams of sugar. So it's not too bad at all. If you take that, once again, let's say 18 grams of sugar, and you divide that up and think about it, if you're only having 1 slice of cheesecake, it's really not that bad. So this looks amazing, it smells amazing, and this is a good sign that your cheesecake is done, that it starts to crack a little bit. That's how you know that you have cooked your cheesecake to the right temperature. It's a little bit burnt on the ends, a little bit crispy. This is the perfect cheesecake. So enjoy. Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button down below. Jeremy the Machine Scott.